continue with the 41st chapter of the book of Yeshaya, 41st chapter. And this continues. Of course, yesterday we started with the Nachamu, Nachamu, the consolation, the beautiful chapters that are being offered by Isaiah. Hacharishu Elai Iyemu Leumim Yachlifu Choach Yigshu Az Yidabru Yachdav Lemishpat Nikrava. Stand silent before me, coastlands. Let nations renew their strength. Let them approach to state their case. Let us come forward together for argument. Mi Heir Mi Mizrach Tzedek Yikraeu Liraglo. Who has roused a victor from the east, summoned him to God's servant? Yitain lefanav Gayim Lachim Yitain Kafar Charbo Kikash Nidaf Kashato. He's been delivered up to nations. He's rendered their swords like dust, their bows like windblown straws. You're defame. He chases them. Ya'avor shalom. Orach biraglav lo yavo. He pursues them. He chases them. He goes unscathed. No shackle is placed on his feet. Mifa'al va'asa. Korei hadorot merosh. Who did this? Who has achieved this? The one who has been with the generations from the beginning. And of course, right, that was part of what we had going on yesterday, where we had this sense of God as the only one who really knows the truth and knows the reality. That's what we had in yesterday's chapter. And so, right, we have the same sort of idea being used also here. And of course, then we finish this verse with a famous phrase. I said we're going to be going through and seeing a lot of nice and famous phrases. Ani Adonai Rishon v'et Acharonim Ani Hu. Right? We have a slightly different. We say Ani Rishon v'Ani Acharon. It was usually more common, but God says, I'm the one in the beginning, and I'm the one who'll be around in the end. I know I was the one from the beginning. Yeah, I'm the one who planned all this. Ra'u iyim v'yira'u k'sot ha'aretz yecheradu karvu v'ye'etayu. The coastlands, the people on the coast or in the islands, they look out in fear. The ends of earth tremble. The craftsmen draw near, and they come. Ishet re'ehu ya'azro ulachiv yomar chazak. Each one helps the other, and they say to their fellow, "Be courageous, stand up." Right? They're what we see here is people helping each other, and that's something I think that's good. But it might not be. Omer ladevek tov hu vaychazkeu bamismarim lo yimot. The woodworker, he encourages the smith, right, who flattens the hammer. He encourages the one who pounds the anvil. He says of the other working, it's good, and they fix it together so that it will not topple, right? And here we have a bunch of people who are working together to hopefully evade and not have to worry about any destruction that's happening. And now we turn from the other nations who maybe have been troublesome, who've been problematic, who've been willing executioners, to a more to our people. And we go back deep in history. V'yata Yisrael avdi Yaakov asher becharticha zera Avraham ohavi. But you, Israel, my servant, Yaakov, who I have chosen, the seed of Avraham, my beloved. And I think this is the only place where we see Avram being called my beloved by God. Avram is called in Eved. Many times Avram is complimented as being the servant of God, showing that he is fully compliant with God's words. And that in many ways is sort of the ultimate compliment. It's also given the same sort of compliment to Moshe is given, but here Avram is called something else. He's called God's beloved. The people were chosen because of Avraham. And so here, that's in a sense what it's talking about here. Avram is God's beloved. Asher hechez katicha miksot haaretz umeatzileha karaticha. V'yomar lecha avdi ata becharticha v'lo masticha. So right, referring to Avram, who I drew from the ends of the earth and called from the corners, to whom I said, you are my servant, I chose you, I've not rejected you. Al tira ki imcha ani. Don't worry, my people. You've had all these troubles, all these problems. Think about the lachrymose conception of Jewish history, all the tear-jerking, all the pogroms, all the horrors. Don't worry, I am here with you. Ki ani Elohecha, imatzticha, af azarticha, af timachticha, bimin tzidki. I am with you. I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will hold you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my victorious a hand. And here, and I pointed this out many chapters ago in one of the, I think it was chapter 27 or so, where Yeshaya is giving back then some beautiful prophecy about the future, that we have stages. And it kind of reminds me of the Yitziat Mitzrayim and of Ha'otzeti, V'tzalti, V'ga'alti, V'lakachti, right? God says, don't worry, I will strengthen you, I will help you, I will uphold you. Verse 11, Pasuk Yud Aleph, Hein yevoshu v'yikalmu kol hanecharim bach, yu cha'ayin v'yovdu anshe rivecha. Shamed and chagrined will be all those who argue with you, right? They will be destroyed. They will be avat. Tivakshem v'lo timse'em, anshe mitzutecha. You can look, but you will not find those who struggle with you. They will be gone. That's what's going to happen to them. Uke'efes anshe milchamtecha. And the men of war, and these are not the men of war of Bnei Yisrael, but the enemies, they will be like Ephes. They will be like nothing. So, right, we've had all these troubles, all these problems. It's goodbye to the KKK. It's goodbye to the SS. It's goodbye to all of those who have attacked us through history. And why is this? Because I am God and I am eternal, and I will strengthen your right hand. And I've said, don't be scared, I will help you. Don't be scared, even the worm of Yaakov, the men of Israel, I will help you. I will help you. I will redeem you, says the Kadosh Yisrael, says the Holy One of Israel. Hine samtich limorag charutz chadash bal pipiot tadush harim v'tadok ugvaot kamot tatzim. I will make a threshing board with new spikes in it, and will thresh the mountains to dust and make the hills. The hills will become like chaff. It will be like nothing. Right? Things are, and this is similar to what we saw in the previous chapters, where we talked about sort of this highway from the highway which was going to be smooth coming to Yerushalayim. So for Bnei Yisrael, it's going to be smooth. It sounds again like the years in the desert. Tizrein v'ruach tisa'im usa'ara tafitzotam v'atat hagil b'adonai b'kadosh Yisrael titalal. You will winnow, and the wind will carry them off, right? All of the thorns and stuff. The whirlwind shall scatter them, but you will rejoice in God and glory in the Holy One of Israel. And of course, here that in many ways seems to be, it's a metaphor. The thorns that are being threshed and then being winnowed and being blown away in the wind is not just talking about this highway, this easy road to get to Yerushalayim, as was the earlier chapter, but it's also talking about what is going to happen to those nations who were your enemies, B'nai Yisrael, the thorns in your side. We're up to Pasuk Yud Zayin. Haniyim v'avyonim mevakshim mayim, v'ayin lishonam batzama nashata. Ani Adonai e'eneim Elohei Yisrael lo e'ezvayim. The poor and the needy, they seek water, and there's none. Their tongue is parched. I will respond to them. I, God of Israel, will not forsake them. And it's hard to look at this pasuk and not think of Amos. And Amos's famous words, Lo ra'av la'lechem v'lo tzama la'mayim kim l'shmoa et divrei Hashem. That right in the future there's going to be a famine, but not a famine for bread or for water, but a famine. People will be hungry and will be ready at any time to hear the words of God. So there's a way to understand this as being not just about the physical needs of people, but also about their spiritual needs. But the main point being here is God is helping them. And one other thing with that is that this is very much a chapter about the relationship between God and the Jewish people. We've had other chapters earlier which spoke a lot about God and the nations, and God even helping the nations at times. This is about, right, we go all the way back to Abraham. The people, Asher Bechartich, the people that I have chosen are going to get this great thing that happens to them. Eftach al shifayim naharotu v'toch pikaot mayanot asim midbar la'agam mayim ve'eretz siyal l'motzei mayim. I'll open up streams on bare hills and fountains amid the valleys. I'll turn the desert into ponds, the arid land into springs of water. We talked about this, right? We had the chapter about Edom. Edom was going to be completely destroyed. The descendants of Yaakov, they're going to be jackals and animals running around their territory. It's going to be completely uninhabited. And then the next chapter talked about how the southern part of Israel, the Negev, was going to bloom. And that's what this is saying here as well. Etain bamidbar erez shita v'hadas ve'et shamen asim ba'arava berosh tidhar uvta ashur yachtav. I'll plant cedars in the wilderness, acacias and myrtles. I will set cypresses in the desert, box trees and elms as well. Right. So tomorrow, when you're singing Zmirot, when we have this phrase Barosh Tidhar, you can sound all smart by telling everybody it's from the 41st chapter of the book of Yeshaya. Leman Yeru v'yedu v'yasimu v'yaskilu yachtav ki yad Adonai astazot ukdosh Yisrael bira'ah. And why am I going to do this? So everybody's going to see, everybody's going to be able to comprehend that this was done by God, that it was the Kadosh Yisrael, the Holy One of Israel, God who has brought this about. Karvu rivchem yomar Adonai. Hagishu atzumotechem yomar Melech Yaakov. Bring your cases, said God. Offer your pleas, says the king of Jacob. Yagishu v'yagidu lanu et asher tikrena. Let them approach and tell us what will happen. Rishonot mahena hagidu v'nasima libenu v'neda'ach haritan o habaot hashmiena. So, right, to tell us what has occurred, and we're gonna pay attention to it, and we'll know what's going to happen in the future. Higidu ha'otiot la'achor v'neda'aki eluhim atem. Right, tell, predict the future. What's going to happen, that we may know that you are gods. Al teitivu v'tareu v'nish ta'a v'nir'eh yachtav. Do anything good and bad, that will be awed and seen. Hein atem me'ayin ufa'alchem me'afa toeva yivchar b'chem. Why? You're less than nothing. Your effect is less than nothing. One who chooses you is an abomination. It's referring to the idols. You go and you're asking the idols, what should I do? Well, what's the sign? What's going to happen? So that's what's going to happen if that's what you do. Right? Ask them what's going to happen in the future. They won't know. Ha'iroti mitzafon v'yat mimizrach shemesh yikra v'shmi v'yavo siganim k'mo chomer u'k'mo yotzer yirmas tit. I have roused him from the north, and he has come. From the sunrise, the one who mentions my name, and he has trampled rulers like mud, like a potter treading clay. This is the second time in this book where we have this idea of God as the potter, and we pointed out back then, right? It's in the liturgy of Yom Kippur. Hine tachomer biad hayotzer, like the potter. Now, this verse is a very interesting and important verse, because for some, this is a reference to, I shouldn't say for some, but this is seemingly a reference to Koresh, to Cyrus, who's going to give permission to the Jewish people to rebuild the Beit HaMikdash. At least that's what how Rashi understands it based on Midrashic understanding. He came, right? Cyrus was the king of the Persians. Persians defeated the Babylonians, who destroyed the Beit HaMikdash. And I believe in the year 536, 537, 538, before the Common Era, he gave permission to the Jewish people to rebuild the Beit HaMikdash. It wasn't rebuilt for about 18 years from then, but okay. When we get to the book of Ezra, we'll talk about. We're in 26. Who told this from the start? Who from the beginning said you're right? Right? Who was the one who announced it? Rishon L'Tzion, Hine, Hina. Uli Yerushalayim Mivaseratain. The one who was the first one to Zion. The one who will send a messenger to Jerusalem. But I look, and there is no one of them can predict, or can they respond with a question. And this is referring back to the other nations. They are nothingness. Ruach v'tohu niskehem. Their statues are naught and nil. And so again, what the end of this chapter is talking about, and for the second half, is this idea of, you think that your idols are going to tell you the future. You're going to ask them questions. You're going to ask them for signs. They're going to predict what's happening. There is only one who is Rishon Ba'acharon, and that is God. And this chapter is about the special relationship as well between God and the Jewish people. And this is the same way. It's like Shmona Esrei of Shabbat Mincha. Ata echad b'shimcha echad u'mikamcha Yisrael goy echad ba'aretz. As the Talmud says, that God said, the Jewish people said, Ata echad v'shimcha echad, God, you are one, and your name is one. You're unique. You're special. You're different. And God answers, "Umi kamcha Yisrael goy echad ba'aretz," and who is like my nation, Israel, special, unique nation in the land. And so this is a chapter that, in addition to all of the other things that's going to happen, God promises, because of the special relationship of the Jewish people, that they will prosper greatly.